Hello class. This is going to be a quick video where I just give some of the announcements and project info that I would have normally given in class. I'm also going to be talking about what you can expect for acceptance testing next week. Sorry I couldn't be there in person with you this week to cover some of that review material. However, there are some online resources now posted so you can do that review at your own pace, as well as some opportunities for bonus participation points to sort of wrap up the course. So the big announcements for this week is that acceptance testing will be held next week. You must have a date and time scheduled with your TA for this. This can be the regular time that you normally meet with your TA, but keep in mind there is a holiday next week, so if you normally meet with your TA on Fridays, that means that you will have to move that time. This can be during class because we don't have class next week to give you time for acceptance testing. If you haven't already got this time booked with your TA, make sure you get in contact with them right away, as you should have a time set. Everyone in your team is going to be required to be there unless there's some sort of personal emergency or sickness, so make sure that that time works for everyone. So for acceptance testing, you have to bring a prototype of your software. That's the software you've been working on for the team project, and you are going to be demonstrating it to your TA. They're going to have a checklist that they go through that contains all of those functional and non-functional requirements that were in the original project specification. They're going to go through them and mark if your prototype actually fulfilled those. So I have a copy of this checklist on OWL under the week 11 page, so you can know what to expect. We'll take a look at that in a second. After you do the acceptance testing with your TA, it won't be longer than 20 minutes, you'll have 24 hours after that appointment to submit your project on OWL. So that will be both the implementation component as well as the testing documentation. You can use late coupons on the submission, and you can push that back up to 3 days per component. Keep in mind these are two different components, implementation and testing. Both of them will use their own late coupons. So if you want to push them both back by 3 days, that means you need 6 late coupons. You can't push back the date of the acceptance testing because that has to be scheduled with your TA. So why would you want to push back the OWL submission if you can't push back acceptance testing? Well, you are allowed to make improvements, changes, and minor fixes after acceptance testing, and the TA will take that into account in your final project grade. If you do make any changes from acceptance testing, please make sure that you mention that in the inline text box when you're submitting the project on OWL, just so the TA knows to look out for. Okay, we're now switched over to OWL, and we're going to take a look at where you can find that acceptance testing checklist. So right now we're looking at the week 11 review page, that's under course content. And to find the acceptance testing checklist, we just scroll down. And you can find it right here under acceptance testing is next week. This was under bulletins and tasks. And you can see acceptance testing checklist.xlsx. That's an Excel file. So this is the checklist that your TA is going to fill out while doing acceptance testing. So notice down the left here are all the different functional requirements. And then we have 4 different levels. So level 4 is what you want, is fully fulfilled. That means that that requirement is fulfilled by your project. It's working. It can have some minor bugs, but for the most part, it's there and it's working to specification. Level 3, if it's working, but there are significant bugs that sort of hamper its performance or cause other issues. Level 2 is included, but not functioning, so you have the code for it, but it doesn't really work. And level 1 is completely missing. So your TA will put a check in one of these boxes for each functional requirement, and they're going to be using this for your final grade for this project. So after acceptance testing, you won't know the grade right away, but you should have a good idea of where it's going to fall based on the levels you're falling into. There's also a spot for that extra feature. Remember, you have to have 1 extra feature from the list of extra features in the specification, and that will be checked. The TA will write the name of that feature here, and then give it a level, just like the other functions. There's also a section for non-functional requirements. These also come from the project specification. So if your TA has time, they may also check some of these, but the main focus on acceptance testing is going to be the functional requirements. The other section are for any bonus extra features. If you really went above and beyond, this acceptance testing is also going to give you the opportunity to show off some of that extra work, and your TA can record comments about that as well. The whole idea here is that this gives the TA a chance to look at your software running properly in the best possible light while you're driving it, So if they have issues like they can't get it running on their computer, you can still get a proper grade. This is also your opportunity to really show off what you've done. If some of the features are missing, you may want to explain to the TA how you would have implemented those, as well as how you've started implementing them, so they can give you credit, for example, for it being included but not yet functioning. I highly recommend this week your team takes a chance to look over this document, go for it themselves, maybe do a dry run of that acceptance testing, and make sure that your project is going to be close to level 4 or 3 for most of these functional requirements. If you have time, you might also want to take a look at the non-functional requirements as well. So the other thing we should quickly mention while reviewing the OWL site is that course feedback is now open. So you can click any of these links on the OWL site to fill out that course feedback survey, or you can simply go to feedback.uwo.ca. This feedback is incredibly important, not just because it evaluates your professors, but because it gives us feedback that we can use to improve these courses. I and many of my colleagues do take this quite seriously, and in the past we have used it to drastically change how these courses are offered. For example, CS1032, this course you're taking right now, used to be far more drier and just covered textbook content, but I've taken the feedback seriously and used it to improve the course to include more tutorials, more in-class work that actually gets into some of the practical aspects of software engineering instead of just being a strictly by-the-book reading course. I'm always looking for new ways to improve the course, as well as what you think of the participation system and those ducks and things like that, so I'm excited to see what you think. And as an added bonus, I believe that if you fill out a course feedback survey this year, you are entered into a draw to win one of 10 $250 gift cards from the bookstore at Western. So we might as well fill it out and at least have a chance to win that gift card. For terms and conditions, please see the yourfeedback.uwo.ca. This is a contest run by Western administration and not myself. Okay, back to the other announcements. There also are some new bonus participation activities this week to sort of make up for those lost group codes and those lost opportunities for ducks. The first one is to make your own practice exam questions. The idea here is you're going to come up with 3 multiple choice questions of your own creation and post them to a new topic in our OWL forms, which is called exam practice questions. So each question must be written by you and not taken from another source or written by someone else. It has to be original in your work. And each question must include at least 5 options and explain the answer. For full points, your question must be related to the course content, and it has to be at appropriate difficulty level, and your answer's explanation must be correct. To be worth points, you must submit this by April 6th at 11:55 p.m. That is going to be the last day to earn participation in this course. So if you also want to make any forum posts for participation or anything like that, please make sure that you get them in by April 6th at 11:55 p.m. After that date, I'll start calculating the final participation points, and if everything goes to plan, I will try to get that out to you before your exam, so you know what kind of grade you're going into your exam with. However, I can't guarantee that 100%. Things have been a little hectic, so I will try my best to get that to you before the exam, though. The other bonus activity is to take the practice exam quiz. So right now there is an AHA Slides quiz that's posted on OWL. This sort of replaces that missed lecture from this week. In that lecture, we would have been going through some of those questions from the practice exam and taking them up in class. This is a very similar idea, except it's going to be at your own pace and on AHA Slides. To do that, you can click the link down there. That should take you to the AHA Slides quiz, and it works just like those AHA Slides quizzes we did in class, but you can start it at any time. Make sure to put in your real name and email so I know who you are, so I can give you participation points. And your score on the quiz doesn't matter. You could get 0. As long as you have completed it, you will get the participation points. This is a participation activity and not sort of a strictly graded assessment. So just like with the other participation components, it has to be completed by April 6th at 11:55 p.m. to count for participation. If you have a cell phone, you can also take it on a cell phone using a QR code like this. I should also talk about the peer review and project management. That's also due next week. Both of those are due on April 6th at 11:55 p.m. For project management, you just really need to submit some PDFs from Confluence, but carefully read that project component so you know what you have to submit. That's mostly going to be graded on how well you've managed your project through the term, how well you've used Confluence and the other Atlassian software. You can also use late coupons for the project management component, but I don't really recommend it since it's not that strenuous, so you might want to save those for implementation and testing. Peer review, on the other hand, is an individual component. Each member of your team must submit a completed Excel template. I now have templates for both teams with 5 members and teams with 4 members. Make sure you use the correct template, and make sure you follow the instructions carefully. There's a certain order you have to have all of your group members in those templates. And that basically allows you to allocate points to how well those team members have contributed to the project and all those different project components. So that peer review is going to be the main way that we will reweigh your project grade, but we will also be looking at things like contributions in Bitbucket, contributions on Jira, what tasks you are assigned, which ones you completed, as well as things like Confluence. And of course, your meeting attendance. Can't use late coupons for peer review because it's an individual component and late coupons belong to your group. Please make sure that you get submitted on April 6th at 11:55 p.m. Last announcement is, you already know, the final exam is on April 18th at 2 p.m. The final exam overview document has been posted on OWL for a while now. You can find it on both the week 10 and 11 pages. It contains the exam rules, the content covered, and all that good stuff. We already showed it in class. And I will be posting the solutions to the practice exam. They should be now posted when this video is up. That's all I have for you in this video. Hopefully you're studying for that exam and getting your project ready to show to the TA next week.